Hello everybody, Rickmoction here, and welcome to another how do they fare in draft video. In this video, last video we did Venusaur. This video we're going to be doing, of course, the fan favorite Charizard. Now, unfortunately, there's not a lot to say about Charizard. Because, unfortunately, base Charizard is not all that good. It ends up ranging around the bottom of, the pool, being roughly about, 3 points, maybe 4 if Charizard's kind of lucky. Maybe like 5 depending on the format. But, you're not getting all that high when it comes to Charizard. Which is kind of sad because, it's the fan favorite Charizard. Everybody loves Charizard. Everybody wants Charizard to do the best because, Charizard is so great. I'm not the biggest fan of Charizard, but when it comes down to it, Charizard's got some pretty good things going for it. If we look over here, when it comes to Charizard stats, it's got pretty good stats overall. A good base 100 speed, 109 special attack, pretty good there. And overall, okay enough defenses to tank a hit, just in case it's needed, but you're not really using Charizard to take hits. Really what you're using Charizard for is the solar power ability. Solar power ends up making Charizard hit super hard in the sun. But, you're losing out on health every turn while in the sun. The sun can be waited out with good enough play and a good enough team structure on the opponent's side. And in Gen 9, in Paldeadex formats, Charizard no longer has access to Roost. So, you can't heal off the damage that you're doing with solar power. And even then, we're not even getting into the elephant in the room of Stealth Rocks. So, as much as Charizard wants to run, Choice Spec solar power in the sun to deal out super crazy amounts of damage, Charizard doesn't really get to do that because Charizard kind of needs heavy-duty boots. And if you want to run Choice Specs Charizard in the sun, you're using up probably your entire team just to get that, just to get access to that pretty much. Because, you gotta have your Sunsetter. You gotta have probably 2 forms of hazard removal. And then you have Charizard. So that's already 4 of your 6 team slots that you can bring to a game. Now, Torkoal himself, being a Sunsetter, having access to Rapid Spin, maybe you could try and combine both of those into one, but you're not really getting too much out of Torkoal if you're trying to use Torkoal as a hazard removal as well as your Sunsetter. The fact that Torkoal can hazard remove kind of is seen as a bonus because you're using it mostly as your ability to set up the sun for a lot of your photosynthesis mons, or your chlorophyll mons. I kind of talked about this a little bit at the end of the Venusaur episode last time, but I'm getting into this kind of early on with Charizard. The photosynthesis, the past paradox mons, are just better than Charizard. If you get Walking Wake, you got a better Charizard. You got, basically a better Charizard. Because Walking Wake can still have access to that flamethrower. Hydro Steam's a fantastic move in the sun. It's got a way better typing to where you don't need as much team building around it of, running, drafting 3, 4, maybe 4 spinners. Just to keep rocks away from Charizard so that you can run the Choice Specs and deal out crazy damage. But, Charizard himself, still good speed, good enough special attack. Although base 100 being good is kind of not as good as it used to be because, you know, speed creep has been going crazy. But, like, you know, unfortunately for Charizard, it's kind of been losing out over time because Stealth Rocks and how much you need to build around it. But it can really just blast out anything with Sun boosted, Solar Power boosted, if you want to go for the choice specs, boosted fire moves. Not much can really take those attacks, which is kind of very good for Charizard in the way of, like, you know, it can wall break incredibly well if you can build around it. But unfortunately, like, you know, Charizard's kind of been like one note. Like, at most, your big differentiality is like Dragon Dance or Belly Drums surprise sets when it comes to Charizard, but you're not really going to be getting the most out of that, unfortunately, because Charizard has a much lower attack stat. You can run, like, you know, the cheeky Belly Drum, Salac Berry, Acrobatics Charizard with, like, Fire Punch as its last move. If you can catch someone off guard with that, good on ya. But, it, like, you know, as much fun as it is, it's not the best. But thankfully, you know, for Charizard, when it comes down to Nat decks, Charizard ends up getting a whole lot better. It gets its roost back, and, you know, we got two Megas that we can discuss here. Going in alphabetical order, we'll discuss Mega Charizard X first. Now, when it comes to Mega Charizard X, it drops the Flying typing, gains the Dragon typing, and it gains a good amount of defense. It goes from 78 to 111, which is very respectable. It gains a lot of attack, going from 84 to 130. And, you know, because they didn't want to break Charizard X too much, they put the rest of it into its special attack. So, you know, Mega Charizard X kind of min-maxed in that way to where, like, it got so much into its attack and defense. So it's a very bulky Dragon Dancer with the Tough Claws ability. It ends up being able to hit super hard with Flare Blitz, Dragon Claw, Outrage if you really want to just have a delete button. But, like, Dragon Dance sets, or, like, you can run, like, a bulky Dragon Dance set. You can run, like, just a heavy offensive Dragon Dance set. But, like, you know, you can sacrifice some damage for some bulk because you have the Roost. You have, like, Will-O-Wisp. You're not 4 times weak to rocks anymore, so you can switch in and out a little bit more. You don't need as much team support. You have the Roost to be able to heal back up. And overall, like, Charizard X ends up feeling super good. It ends up almost topping the points needed to draft it. Like, you know, most 20-point drafts for the Nat Dex format, Charizard X sits in, like, you know, 20 to 17 range. It is such a good Pokemon and absolutely is a force to be reckoned with. Going over to Charizard Y, you know, Charizard Y is just more base Charizard. They put a little bit of it into attack, trying to, like, you know, not totally min-max this, but they dropped a ton into special attack, a good amount into special defense, so it's okay on the so it's, like, very good on the special side, can take those special hits where it need be, but it gains the fantastic ability in Drought. Now, when it comes to Charizard Y, where I was talking about earlier, where you need a ton of team support, you need the Rapid Spins, you need the Defogs or whatever for Charizard, you kind of need the same thing for Charizard Y, but your payoff is so powerful. Sun boosted fire moves, 1-turn solar beams, Roost, just to, like, you know, it's your Mega, you gotta keep it up as much as possible. And, you know, if you have, like, some Chlorophyll or some of the Photosynthesis Mons, you know, you can kind of support those a little bit as well. You can kind of enable those Not as well as, like, a Torkoal or a Ninetales, because you can't hold the Heat Rocks, so your Sun's only 5 turns, and Charizard Y wants to make use of those Sun turns a ton to be able to just deal out crazy amounts of damage, so, you're not really playing Charizard Y as much for the Chlorophyll and Photosynthesis mons. You're kind of using it for itself. And for itself is very strong, so, it also doesn't have to worry too much about the Flash Fire mons anymore, like Heatran being a big problem for Charizard Y in the past, because it has Scorching Sands now. It can take care of it super easily. It got that in Gen 8, I think, anyway, but, it ends up being able to deal with Heatran as well, and overall, like, as time goes on, like, they keep giving Charizard new things. But really, the stuff that it has already had has already been great. And so, like, it hasn't really strayed too far away from anything that it has been given. At most, like, Charizard Y gets Scorching Sands. That's fantastic for dealing with Heatran. But overall, like, Charizard Y, depending on where you're at, either sits near the top or, like, in, like, the middle echelons of, like, the top side. So, like, 19 to, like, 15, maybe 14 if you see it down there. Just because, like, there's better Sunsetters, but, you cannot exaggerate Charizard Y's damage. It is absolute menace when it comes to its damage output. And it is super hard to take the hits from. So, when it comes to Charizard Y, you always got to be wary of it. But that's kind of all that I have to say about the Charizards. Overall, great mons when it comes to the Megas. And if you want to support it to exponential levels with base form Charizard, have at it. With enough team support, you can make any Pokemon good, but when it comes to Charizard, Choice Spec, Solar Power in the Sun, any fire move is going to deal out stupid amounts of damage. So, if you want to try and make use of that, you sure can. But I hope that you all enjoyed this video, and I hope that you all have yourselves a fantastic day. Drop a subscribe if you want to, so that you never miss out on any of these videos. Leave a like if you liked it. Comment down below how you think I can improve these going forward. I'm doing the best that I can here, just myself. But anyway, I hope that you all have yourselves a fantastic day.